Hello, everyone. Welcome. We have a great Tech Talk prepared for you today with a very special guest. Just bringing him on now.
Hello, can you all see me, hear me?
Hi, yes, we are live. I'm so excited to be doing this. Thank you so much for
Cool.
joining. I think one of the best parts about my job is I get to meet all of our amazing Twill members and get to know them a little better and then share out their genius with the wider community. So thank you so much for joining. Let's just jump right in. Sriram, do you want to give a little intro on yourself and a little background? You have an amazing career history. I know you've seen a lot at your tenure, so we'd love to just hear more about your background.
Thank you, Eliza, for those kind words and introduction. Hi, everyone. My name is Sriram Gopalan. Uh, a few words about myself. To start with, thank you very much to Twill. Thank you very much to Eliza for organizing this. I'm really happy to be here and share my thoughts on what is a very important topic on everybody's mind. About myself, I've been in this industry for more than 25 years, 27 years at this point, most of it in organizational leadership of various kinds, engineering, product, program management leadership. Um, and I'm really excited to be here. Some of the companies during that time that I worked for that might be familiar to the folks that are watching includes Salesforce.com, back when it was a really small company, gaming startup that got acquired by Disney. So I worked for the mouse. Then I've been working for Amazon for quite a while as well. So and a few other companies that I won't get into. So quite a bit of experience, varied experience across different businesses and different domains. Before I get started, I do want to say something. I do want to clarify something. I'm excited to share my thoughts on a lot of questions and a lot of topics today, but I do want to make sure folks understand that these are my opinions that I am stating and not representative of, do not represent the opinions or positions of any of these companies that I work for or organizations that I have worked for in the past. With that caveat, I'm really excited to get started.
Yes, amazing. I think one of the things we definitely hear a lot at Twill and something that's just on everyone's mind is how rapidly AI is changing. I think it puts a lot of weight on people's shoulders because it's moving so quickly now that it's hard to even remember a time before AI, and there's so much uncertainty about what it's going to look like 1 year, 5 years from now. And I know sometimes it keeps me up at night wondering, am I going to have a job in 5 years? What's going to happen? But talking to you really helped shift my own perspective. And I think you just have such an interesting way of looking at it. So I'm excited to share that with everyone. But let's just hop right in. So we've got some discussion topics. So AI is reshaping every corner of tech. What do you think it means to have an AI mentality as a leader today?
Thank you very much. I think that's a really good questions to start with. I think AI, as you rightly said, it's on top of everybody's minds. It's in all the media, and it's totally dominating the conversation. And we don't know exactly where the future is headed. We're all excited, and as you said, maybe a little bit scared as well about AI. So I think AI mentality is a really good phrase. And I think we all need to have AI mentality, regardless of our role, regardless of our company going forward. And honestly, I think this impacts every aspect of what we do. But rather than get into everything, I want to focus on just two big parts of it, two big aspects of what we do. One is how we build solutions for our customers, as well as how we lead our team of human team members, right? And what does AI mentality mean in both of these spaces is something that I would like to focus on for this question. I'm sure as we get into other discussions, more will come out of it, right? So I think when it comes to building solutions for customers, we can no longer rely on our decision making to be just based on past experiences and intuition, right? Like you talked about the many years of industry experience I have, and I talked about it as well. I think when I'm having an AI mentality, that's not enough, right? I can't just rely on my past experiences and come up with like this really perfect upfront plan and just expect, oh, my team will now go execute on this plan and that's all that needs to be done, right? Prior to AI, maybe that was an approach, but that cannot be the approach going forward. It has to be a lot more openness and a lot more flexibility, because AI now can analyze a lot of data and provide a lot of surprising insights on its own. So we need to be open and flexible to kind of work in a way that is iterative and experimental, and be willing to adapt based on what that feedback and insight we are getting from AI, right? So it can't be all upfront. We need to be more nimble, and we need to be more ready to incorporate this real world feedback and build solutions that way. And if you think about it, that's how kind of AI systems work. So our AI mentality has to reflect how AI systems themselves work, right? Through iterative refinement based on real world feedback and real world data. That's basically what having an AI mentality for building customer solutions looks like. The second part of it is AI mentality about leading organizations and teams. And I think this is a theme that I'll probably go to again and again during this conversation. I think it's very, very important to rethink and have an AI mentality about the human AI collaboration, right? Instead of thinking about AI as a replacement for humans, I think having an AI mentality means understanding that AI is very powerful, but what it does is augment our human team members, right? It adds to what our human team members can do. And AI is really good at what it does. It can process a lot of data, provide really good insights really quickly, but you still need the humans to provide the context, humans to provide the kind of creativity, real human creativity on top of it. And most important of all, we need the human team members to provide that ethical oversight for whatever AI is doing. And I think when we continue to lead our teams with this AI mentality that you asked for, is understanding this nature of human AI collaboration, as well as being willing to understand the ethical implications and continue to learn as we go along with our team, is going to be the AI mentality.
Yeah, that's such good advice. I was just thinking, my grandfather was a really successful entrepreneur and businessman. He was born in 1923. He died at 100 years old. So he saw a lot of technological shifts over that time, even up until a few years ago. And anytime I would ask him, "Do you have any advice? You're so successful," he would say no. But the one time I did get some advice from him, he said, really, the key is you have to be able to pivot, and you always have to be ready to adapt, which I think he was able to do really successfully throughout his career. And I think that's one of the biggest components about not getting stuck in a position where you're getting overcome with anxiety and uncertainty. It's being ready to pivot at any moment, because the market is changing so much, the technology is changing so much, that I think that's such a good point that you hit on. And just from your personal experience from either hiring candidates or mentoring, what are some signals that you look for that kind of show that in an individual that they are uh, ready to pivot and handle these ongoing challenges versus kind of stuck in an old model?
That's a great question. Yeah, I mean, most of my leadership experience, the aspect that I've been most proud about is people management and guiding, folks, and mentorship. So this is something that I've thought about quite a bit. Uh, I would say there's three different signals that become very important that I emphasize with the folks that I mentor, leaders that I mentor or hire, for that matter. One is, we talked a little bit in the past about the willingness to learn and experiment, right? Like that comes with the territory. So this person, are they willing to learn, right? Or are they set in their ways in terms of, hey, I've already done this, I know everything there is to know, right? So this willingness to experiment and learn becomes important. And when I'm an aspect of learning that I look to is how do folks look at failures, right? I think that's different in an AI integrated world versus the prior world. What I mean by that is, in the prior world, any failure can be looked at as nothing but a setback. It's bad news. You had a plan, you were executing on it, something didn't go the way you want. That's a failure, right? Like, let's do a lot of uh, hand waving around, like what's going on and all that, right? But instead, in the new world, a more mature leader with AI mentality, as they are continuously iterating and learning, a failure can be nothing more than a learning opportunity. It can be nothing more than an opportunity to course correct, because now you have really good systems telling us, like, hey, this is the hypothesis that you were going with, but this is what the real world data tells us, right? So I look for leaders who are, like your grandfather said, willing to pivot, willing to change as the real world data indicates, right? Instead of being stubborn about it. And I talked about another signal is, again, I go back to how they interact with human beings. This is very, very important, whether it is folks that work for them, folks that they are partnering with the customers, but how are they in terms of human interactions? Are they looking at AI as somebody that AI as a system that can really help their folks, or are they constantly thinking as, oh, I can replace these people with the AI, right? Like, to me, that's a red flag way of looking at it. It's better to look at AI as, okay, how can AI augment and make my folks a lot more productive? So that's a signal that I look for. I think, and last but not the least, and in fact, this is probably what I should have led with at the beginning. I think leaders in an AI integrated world should be ready to do what AI absolutely cannot do. And in this case, set the ethical framework for their organization or for their teams. That's not something AI is going to do. AI is going to take the data that it's trained on, the data that it's tested on, and it's going to do its best. But if you are a leader in this AI integrated world, it's on you to set the ethical bar for your team, right? Like, what I mean by that is, it sometimes can look like the easiest thing to do is to take the problem domain, throw it to AI, whatever it gives, treat it as a black box and throw it out into the customers. And if something it doesn't work well, or if there's a controversy or something about it, and we've all seen AI controversies, right? To say, well, it's not our fault, AI did it, right? I don't. I think a good leader in a AI integrated world doesn't do that. They don't delegate the blame to AI. Instead, they put it on themselves to set the ethical bar, the ethical framework, and make sure there's, at the appropriate junctures, there's humans in the loop that understand and course correct if the solutions are not meeting the ethical standards of what you're trying to build.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer. There's a comment I wanted to surface. Thank you, Juan, for your comment. I think this is so important. Um, a lot of times it feels like people feel powerless and out of control with AI, but really, and I have felt this kind of coming through just in the market as well, that it's not some like omnipotent force in the world that's just like completely autonomous and taken control. And I've noticed that a lot of obviously leaders have an amazing opportunity to help create a framework ethically. There's so much context about humans that are really necessary that I think will always be so important. And a lot of companies that have kind of tried to put AI first and like AI only companies have gotten some backlash from consumers.
Mhm.
So there are other bigger forces at play where I think it's can be really easy to feel like life is happening at us and we don't have control. But really, there are some great checks and balances. And I think consumers really want to see AI augmenting the humans in the loop model. And I think that lesson kind of got learned the last few months by some more public
Yeah,
instances. And I I think that's part of the like push and pull, being able to pivot and hopefully learn from those ahead of time as well.
absolutely agree. And I think if if it is true that AI is omnipotent and therefore we don't need humans, that's kind of like saying when calculators were invented, humans don't need to do math anymore because calculators can do, big multiplications really fast. That's really not all there is to math, right? Similarly, when it comes to building solutions for our customers, it's not just about doing a few things in large volume and really fast. There is definitely a need for this framework on top of it, that human connection on top of it. And this human connection goes from leaders to their peers, leaders to their, the folks in their organization, as well as all of us to our customers. At the end of the day, as much AI as you might be using, you're still building solutions for human beings. And we need to keep that in mind. And without the human connection, um, people will get just tired of it. There's when AI, we could all remember the first time we saw AI generated videos and we were all like so excited about it. And I think AI is going to continue to play a huge role in a lot of AI, video content generation and image content generation. But you can also see within a short amount of time how people's opinion of some videos, when they don't look very good, this is clearly an AI video kind of. So the term has gotten a little negative association. And it's not because AI is not doing a good job. I think AI is doing a phenomenal job, but it's because whoever is releasing these content is not doing enough human oversight on top to ensure, okay, this, like a kind of a Turing test or a reverse Turing test, if you will, right? If a customer watches this video, will they 100% know this is AI generated versus human, right? If we don't ask ourselves that, then a lot of what we generate and put out there is going to be looked at by our customers as just scrap, and we need to avoid that.
Yeah, that's such a great point. We've got some questions in the chat. We have someone ask, they're currently a software engineer. Do you have any advice on pivoting to an AI or machine learning engineer?
Yeah, I think that is not a bad idea. There is the traditional software engineering role is definitely getting redefined. I don't think it is going away as some people fear. So you can think of yourselves as either someone who takes your career in a different direction, and okay, I'm just not going to be someone that implements specifications that my product manager gives. I'm going to do a bigger role, and I'm going to take care of the human AI interaction part of it. I'm going to use AI to generate my code. But the other definite pivot that people can do in their careers is to dive deeper into AI, into ML. There's tons of free or low cost training materials that are available from all the big companies out there. I would definitely encourage folks to dive into it and get fluent with AI to the extent that they feel comfortable, right? If they want to completely change their career, it is a bigger effort. Yes, you would have to become an AI and ML engineer that thoroughly understands the technologies behind it, and that is definitely an option. But even if you don't full-fledged change it in that direction, I think um, software engineers in the future are going to be heavily leveraging AI for their work anyway. So you are an AI engineer, whether you like it or not, if you continue to be in the software space.
Yeah, I think that's such a good question, and there are so many tools accessible to people, so you can kind of just like jump in, start getting your hands dirty, figure things out, build something small, and then just kind of keep escalating. And then I think in terms of a career pivot, that's a really great way to get your foot in the door, is to show what you've actually built, which is way easier now because of AI tools and the accessibility. And I think I'm interested to hear your thoughts and everyone watching. I think this could also be an opportunity to see a lot more entrepreneurship arise, because people are really able to just get in there and start trying things. And there is such a different mentality going from an enterprise level. A lot of these tech companies have become so huge and omnipresent that I think they're not able to move as quickly or be as in touch as, say, a lean team of one, two, or three, especially with AI tools so available now.
Yeah, I 100% agree with you, Eliza. I think um, one of the advantages that big companies and big organizations have is that they have a lot of resources and they have a lot of folks, but that can also be a disadvantage in terms of being able to quickly make shifts and change direction. It's like if if you are the pilot for a giant ship and you're trying to quickly change direction, it's a lot harder, right? So but if you are on a small motorboat, you can just quickly zoom around and change things, right? So I think there's opportunities. The barrier to entry in terms of making a new product is so low right now, and there's so many options in terms of whatever aspect of technology you're looking at, whether it's AI, LLM models, whether you're talking about cloud. There's just so much out there that yes, it's a lot easier nowadays for somebody to build something new. And the advantage is, we talked about AI mentality before. I think now a company that's starting in 2025 can start with the AI mentality, and they can start with the idea that, okay, here's how we are going to operate. Here are the key, human oversight roles that we are going to have, and here is how they are going to leverage AI to do what they do best from day one. Like, it can be defined like that. While traditional organizations have a very different way of being set up and very different way of working, that now they have to try and get to this place, and that's usually a lot harder because there's a lot more momentum that needs to be changed.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Um, Another question I'm thinking, just what you were talking about earlier, is AI is definitely going to become a component, kind of regardless of what type of engineer you are, or even your job function at all. But I'd be interested to see if you're noticing any trends of other skill sets that are becoming more important, less important, soft skills, hard skills. Is anything kind of sussing up to the top in terms of this is where things are leading, so our community can start maybe digging in and honing those skills?
Yeah, that's actually a very good question, because I think this is one of those evolutionary things, right? Like, it doesn't happen one day, but over time, I have observed some traits that used to be more important kind of becoming less important, and there's other traits that used to be maybe a little bit important, but they're becoming a lot more important, right? And one thing in the first category that I noticed, and that's a good thing, is anyone who's been in the industry long enough knows, this tendency for some folks to be the information hoarders, right? Like, they are the only folks who know how a specific component works, or how a specific thing needs to be done, and they're like these knowledge gatekeepers, if you will, right? And inside the teams, they can be derisively called out as like, oh, job security. They have job security because only they know how something works. I think that trait is becoming less and less important as we open up our systems to AI, and AI knows a lot of these things. I think relying solely on, like, oh, my past experience and my secret pocket of knowledge, I think that trade is going away, right? What's emerging instead is more openness and more emphasis on the human aspect of things, right? Like, whether you're talking about how you lead your team with empathy, whether you're talking about how you interact with your customers, I think the human centric nature becomes more important. I think emotional intelligence becomes more important than just the pure intelligence, because if you're really brilliant in terms of how you can write a lot of code, that's probably less important in an AI integrated world than your emotional intelligence and your ability to understand the larger context of what are we doing, how are we helping our customers, by building this. I think that emotional intelligence becomes very, very important. And the other trait that I think is kind of going away, and me as a leader, a senior leader, this is very relevant, is the kind of top-down hierarchical kind of command and control way of doing things, I think is starting to fade away, and I think that will go away. Right, to your point, Eliza, where that's organizations that's how they used to operate are going to struggle. Instead, the smaller, more nimble organizations that are flatter, not that hierarchical, and they don't try to define everything they're going to build in the next year or 3 years or whatever, but instead they go with, okay, let's start with this is our hypothesis, let's experiment, and keep going in terms of what we find out. Those traits are going to become more important.
Yes. Yeah, I really feel like we have been seeing that as well. So many roles are becoming more cross-functional. Soft skills are becoming way more important. Your ability to communicate, that emotional intelligence component, ability to understand the customer, what you're building, all of those things for more technical roles, where before I feel like it was kind of like, okay, if you were a little bit in your silo and just doing your work. And it really seems like for so many roles, especially technical roles, um, your people are looking for those leadership skills, even junior, because so much of the technical work can be taken off your shoulders by AI. And so you're going to have to be like your own leader and manager and have those almost project management skills as well. We've got another question in the chat. Curious to know what is the key to achieve balance between an engineer's current existing skills and trying to transition to what the AI demands are. To be more precise, what is the fine line between unlearning what you already know or building upon what we already know by leveraging new tools?
Okay, that's a really good question. So taking a step back, right? So as things have changed over time and we're trying to evolve from this old world to this new AI integrated world, it's not so much about unlearning what you know, right? But it is about understanding what aspects of what you learned as a software engineer, as you do your daily job, is going to be less relevant in an AI developed world versus more relevant, right? I would say thinking in systems, thinking architecturally continues to be very, very important. Thinking about the quality of code that gets generated, is it modular? Is it easier to maintain? Those continue to be important. But the very nitty gritty aspects of, okay, what is the specific, library API call, what are the actual parameters, like I think a lot of the details that AI can take care of, and especially as we continue to develop and new versions come in. When I was a software engineer, I had to go learn all the time, oh, this is what the new version of Java has, and I need to learn this. I think those aspects of it, they're not irrelevant. I think they become less relevant, but you as a human in the loop continue to be the one that is providing the architectural and systemic guidance to AI for a couple of reasons. One, AI will do something, but is it doing it the right way? Is it producing at the end of the day really good quality artifacts? It's on you to ensure that happens. And as we all know, if you've developed any product for a while, there's also going to be trade-offs. And I think if you are more architectural and systems oriented, you can guide AI to make sure it's making the right trade-offs, based on your foresight of where things are headed. So those aspects become important, right? Like think of it as you have someone at your disposal who's going to do a lot of the routine, detailed things that honestly you didn't really enjoy doing. So what are the higher level things you can continue to provide? So I don't think it's, oh, AI will do all the coding, we don't need humans anymore. Like I think that is a false narrative that a lot of folks are peddling out there, in my opinion. But it's more about, oh, this person really knows what and understands the output that is coming from AI, and they can guide it to continue to have a high quality and continue to more effectively do what needs to be done. Uh, I think it's not a solid line. It's a little bit of a blurry line, but that's the line that I would take. Is okay. These are things that AI can do really well. What is the higher level input that I can provide for it that makes it actually better?
Yeah, I think there's definitely so much to be said for experience. And I think usually you can take your own experience for granted, but even just looking and remembering back to your first job and your first early experiences, there's so much judgment that is missing. And the way your brain learns and starts creating um, just thought processes that you now take for granted, but those are so valuable. And I think a lot of that can be applied to like how you're guiding things. And experience doesn't always have to come down to years of something. It's goes back to that being proactive in the narrative that's going on and in the decisions that are going on, where you can get a lot of new experience, not necessarily by counting down the years of doing it, but just getting in there, learning, failing, trying again, pivoting, building something even if it's horrible, and just kind of get your hands dirty, and you'll get so much experience that it helps you. And a lot of people aren't doing that, so again it puts you at an advantage, I think, as a candidate or consultant or a leader, that you just like got in there and got your hands dirty and
Yeah, absolutely.
applied what you know and the
There are
experience
folks
you
who
do
don't
have.
understand at all what the AI is actually putting out there, and it might look like it is working, but as anyone who has been in software long enough knows, the challenge is not always just the initial generation of all this code and artifacts, right? Like that's not where software stops. Honestly, that's where software begins. The real challenge comes once it is out there and it is being used and it has some issues and it needs to be enhanced and it needs to be maintained. And you know it is better to be someone who actually understands the code that got generated, the architecture within which this code is executing, even if a lot of that work was done by AI, than to be somebody who's completely blind to it. Because the minute things break down, and sometimes AI can get into these weird corners where you can tell it till you're blue in the face that this is not what I want, and it doesn't quite get it. It is important, like, so your knowledge of how to build systems in a with a proper design in a modular way so that it's easier to enhance and maintain continues to be very, very important. What you're delegating is a lot of the verbosity and the details that probably wasn't all that thrilling for you to do in the beginning.
Yeah, I really like that. And I think one of the most precious resources we have within ourselves and a society is the creativity. And I've been dabbling myself a little bit trying to learn AI. And it's so right. There are times you're like, do this explicitly, and it's just like not connecting. And you can say however many times you like in so many different ways. And then from there, it's the human creativity that's like, okay, well, if this is what it's going to produce, how can I pivot my idea to make it better, to work around that? And that creative, pushing yourself creatively and always looking, how can I make this work? How can I make this better? Um, is such a special thing that people can do, and it's a skill that you can definitely practice, and a muscle that gets exercised and stronger. And I think that's such going to be so much more important moving forward, even though I think it's always been very
Yeah,
important,
and I
that
agree
creative
100%. I
spirit.
think if you had to ask me to list three things, that would be one of the top three is creativity, genuine human creativity. And I say that because AI can look very creative, right? But it's not, it's pattern matching all the time. And for genuine human creativity, you still need human beings in there.
Yeah, I've never seen a piece of AI art that moved me to tears or made me feel something, you know? It's the pain, the highs, the lows, the
Yeah.
beauty of existence in life, and I don't think, people are gonna let go of that entirely anytime soon, AI or not. Any final questions from the chat? I know we're just about at time. Um, but yeah, this was so helpful. It really just restores my faith in the future that people are so resilient and creative, and we always find a way to be okay. And I think that's part of why community is so important. And technology oftentimes seems like it's happening in such a silo and it's not a community focused thing, but it really is. Um, and so, yeah, I'm so grateful that you're a Tool member. I think this has been um, wonderful. Thank you, everyone who tuned in. And yeah, if you're not a Twill member yet, feel free to apply. We have an amazing community where you help people in your network get jobs and vouch for them. So if you or someone you know is looking for their next career role, please apply. Let me just, oop, there's my special Twill promo.
Okay.
And yeah, thank you so much again
Thank
for
you. Thank you
joining.
so much for the opportunity. Thanks for everyone for their insightful, thought-provoking questions. I hope this was useful. If I could leave one parting thought, again, I'll recap some of what I said. But this world, a lot of folks out there are trying to make it look scary, but I don't think it is. You just have to reimagine yourself as instead of don't think of yourself as an implementer, think of yourself as an orchestrator. If you take away one thing from this, it should be this: be an orchestrator, not an implementer, and the future will look really, really promising and bright.
I love that. Thank you so much. I feel like that goes back. Every senior leader we have talked to has shared similar advice. So I think it's really valuable and something we should all take to heart and learn how to implement every way we can. Uh, but yes, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. Thank you,
Bye,
Sriram. Bye.
Liza.